Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Doris Lawson. Um, we're going to be co-moderating. You can't tell, but my partner is right here, and
We are.
she.
We're in the same room.
Yeah, we are. Um, we're going to present today a workshop on art integration, a strategy for differentiated instruction. I just want to give you a little background on me. Um, I'm teaching presently in Florida, but most of my experience has been in the Northeast in Rhode Island, and I've taught there for a very long time. I have a master's degree in education, specifically special needs, and I'm nationally board certified. And my partner,
Hi, my name is Kim Wilder. I have taught in a couple different places also, in the Northeast as well. I taught most of mine in Kentucky, so kind of not really the North, kind of not really the South. I come from a little bit different background than Miss Lawson because my first degree was in general education. I'm now certified as a special needs teacher as well. But I taught art for quite a long time also, visual arts. So I kind of bring that to the table whenever Miss Lawson and I work together.
all right, so let's get started.
A couple different things about some different arts here. Georgia O'Keeffe, a very famous artist, um, said she could say things with color and shape that she couldn't say with any other way. Teaching kids with special needs, sometimes the way that they communicate is much different than other students, and sometimes we have to always address those needs.
When you're talking about special needs children, we always try to keep our approach a VAKT, and that's visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and tactile. And a lot of our kinesthetic, tactile, and visual, well, actually, our auditory pieces too, do integrate the arts.
Especially the visual arts, and especially that whole dance and drama. We use that a lot to try to have kids make meaning from whatever, from whether it's science or reading or whatever they're doing. And we're going to show you some examples of how we make that work with our students. There's a difference, though, between just shoving something visually into a classroom or creating what would be more of a craft than actually making it a meaningful experience for students. And that's what we always try to do with our students, is really make it meaningful for both whatever the academic concept is, and we also have to remember that there's always those art standards that can be addressed with students as well.
The actual integration means that whatever you're teaching is where you're going to integrate your art. It's not like you're going to say, okay, stop a minute, and we're going to sing a song or do something. It's actually very much integrated with
and
all of
enhances
the
academics. Whatever the arts piece of it enhances the arts.
And so we're going to show you some different slides of things that we've done where the writing is inspired
This is the experiential piece, the sensory piece that we have with students. Oops, I'm sorry, you went ahead. They experienced some pop rocks and got a lot of great words from that. And so then that is what they ended up showing in their art piece, which enhanced the
This was dancing, learning American Indian culture, and at that particular time, you see that we invited the parents to our dancing, so that when they were learning about Native Americans, they had drawn about Americans, they'd read about Native Americans, and we danced about Native American. We did actually the two-step and the rattlesnake dance and so forth, and so it was true integration. And talk about our rocket.
Yes, here's some great engineering here that the kids were doing is what is the best way to engineer a rocket to go the farthest. And the students had to really experiment a little bit with different ways to shape the tops of the rockets, the phalanges that they put on the rocket, and different things to see which ones would go the furthest. For the most part, the kids used all the same material in these. They're a soda bottle, and mostly it was just paper and some cardboard and things. But the way that they thought about it, experimented with it, practiced it, redesigned it, is the one that made them really understand some of those basics of force and motion.
So, when we're talking about art integration, what is it? It's an approach to teaching in which students construct, demonstrate an understanding through art form. Students engage in a creative process which connects an art form with another subject area and meets evolving objectives in both. And so, as you were saying before about those art standards, you can continue. Go ahead. Go for it.
They're there. There's art standards there. And I think as classroom teachers, we sometimes think that all of those art standards are the things that, if you're lucky enough to have a visual art teacher or a music teacher, that they're going to take care of all of those things. But I don't think that in our evolving, 21st century that we can continue to do that, because the arts has truly become a different modality for students to learn through, and it's becoming a very important one, especially when we start talking about the technology element that brings arts into it.
The music and the science of sound. Now, a lot of our visual arts are sometimes is what we're more comfortable with, but then when we get into the dancing and the singing and the sound and so forth. But if you can tell, some of our students who are here who are severely handicapped probably never had the experience of having a guitar or someone actually hand them something that makes music. And what an experience for them to know about sound through a musical instrument.
And I think part of that also is, as classroom teachers, especially if we have never taken any of those arts classes or aren't comfortable with ourselves as some kind of artist, we think that we get up in front of our students, but we can't get up in front of our students and sing. And I can't carry a tune in a bucket, but I have no problem singing anything to my students. And that's where you start to get that whole freedom and say, you know what, Miss Wilder, you really can't sing, but you're doing it anyway. So I don't think I can sing, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I think that that is the piece also that teachers that we need to bring to the table for our students as well.
I had to move, as you can tell, there's a different background. But we're going to continue right now with our next slide that talks about sculpting. Now, sculpting is pretty interesting because, as Ms. Wilder will tell you, it's not an area where I'm particularly comfortable in. But this combined sculpture, um, engineering, and landforms, and map keys, and all sorts of things. You want to expound upon what we did with this?
Now, we could have had the students certainly take a paper pencil test that showed what everything that they know about map keys, about directions, about landforms, about all the things that we had studied in our geography unit. But what a better way for them to get a little bit more creative with it, show that same information that they would take on a pencil and paper test and create a brand new community. And this made them really think at a much higher level, because now they had to think of what makes a community in and of itself and how all of those pieces can interact to create, to make a community that's really going to be a viable community. We also had them try to incorporate a theme into it, which made it a little bit fun with it. But the important parts of it were the key elements that the kids had to include that demonstrated their understanding of the geography standards that we were trying to teach.
Now, here are some of the benefits of engaging and integrating art into a lesson. It enables the child to explore alternate ways of communicating. If you're going to find working with special needs students, you're going to find that many of them have language processing difficulties, they have articulation problems, they have sometimes anxiety that requires them to find a different way of communicating to you what they've learned or what they want you to know. And so art is one of those ways.
Art is one of those, it's just one of those elements that makes kids feel more comfortable. You know, you put a marker in a kid's hand and they can show you so much more than if you put a pencil in their hand. It's the color of it, it's just the liveliness of it that makes it just brings kids alive. Here's some students who are helping to make sense of their world. It really promotes that whole idea of questioning, wondering. You get so many more questions when kids are putting their hands on something and trying to create something themselves. You get the deeper questions that they try to answer, and then the way that they solve it, you get different solutions. Oftentimes ones that I wouldn't have necessarily thought of. The kids come up with different things.
Exactly. It stimulates creative thinking. And as Miss Wilder was just saying a few seconds ago, that whole critical thinking, when you think back at the map, the sculptured landforms, they had a lot of thinking and planning to do while being at the same time creative and using the art standards that we try and promote. It also encourages ideas that are personal and inventive. Um, just today, when we had kids in the room exploring with magnets, some of them discovered things that I would have never thought to teach. And it just gets them thinking and involved.
We have students who, maybe some would look at and think they're not very capable. When you put different things in their hands, they do feel that they are very capable of doing things. Here's a student who's making butter to go along with one of our social studies units. It enhances that self-esteem with students who say, you know what, now I can do this just as much as you can do this. So it helps students in all aspects. Contributes to that development of range of intelligence. Here's some students who are learning a little bit more about their body, which in turn is not just the anatomical creation that they're working on. It's also helping to develop that sense of self around you, that self-awareness of your body, which is very important, especially with students with special needs. They don't always feel connected to the world around them, which kind of leaves them a little bit adrift. So here we're trying to definitely nail down those connections for students.
And if you notice, the outline form is not a body with the hands down and the legs down straight that you normally see when you trace out somebody's body. The kids had to turn and twist their bodies in ways in which they would move in the world. And when Miss Wilder was talking about their bodies in space, when they physically take a look at that on the wall, oh my gosh, they see that they're taking a whole lot more space, and it gives them a connection to that piece of paper is me, and that's my size. And that was a really cool piece of that we didn't anticipate them learning.
But the other part of that, Miss Lawson, that I know that you and I both had a conversation about, some of those students who are bound to wheelchairs and who we do try to
Yes.
get out of the wheelchair and move them around in different kinds of ways. We moved them out of their wheelchairs, traced their bodies went up on the
Yes.
walls like they were standing and dancing, and that
Yes.
let these students see that their bodies are the same as everybody else's bodies, when other ways they don't necessarily see that.
Good point. This picture you're going to see is a unit on immigration where we had simulated Ellis Island, and children were bringing their suitcases. If you see that little guy who's got a suitcase way up high, and we had some parents come in and simulate, the people who were there, the health check and so forth. It helped them understand social and cultural developments in a period of time where they could never have imagined. But using the drama and the role playing really helped them learn that lesson.
Now we lucked out. Let me just get back to that one. We lucked out with that. We lucked out with that we had, because so many immigrants. The thing that we talked about with the immigrants to really help the kids to really get a feel for this is so many immigrants came to this country and could not speak the language that was spoken, and so whenever they were in these lines and things with different places, they had no understanding or tried to fake an understanding of it. The parent that we had come in for this one, this is a medical check. She spoke German to the students, and our students could not understand what she was saying, much like the immigrants couldn't understand when they came to the United States. So they really were able to dramatically feel that way that the immigrants actually felt. One student was so involved in it, whenever we did not let him come into the United States, He broke out into tears. So that was a little bit further than we wanted to take it, but he was really understanding how deeply this felt for immigrants. So you get a connection to our history and to different social studies and the cultures.
What the arts do is that they involve the total person, the total child. We call it VAKT, but it's a lot more than that. In that this child actually got so involved, so emotionally involved, that ended up tearing up because he was,
He
not
did.
accepted.
He knew he wasn't going to get accepted in the United States because we told him before. So it was, I mean, he was just that involved in the whole thing. And if we could get our students that involved in lessons on a day-to-day basis, imagine how much further every student would progress.
So, your students can learn the arts as well as learn through the arts. We're going to show you a little video. We call them the Marios because that's the name that they chose for their reading group. And so we're going to show you that. It's a way that we have chosen to to help children learn vocabulary through some drama. And you can watch this.
This group, they struggled to develop an understanding of the vocabulary. So going back to that, what Miss Lawson was talking about, using the whole body, this really, really helps them understand the new vocabulary that they're going to be experiencing in the story that they're reading. I think that was the last one.
Oh, that was.
I think that was the last one.
What's kind of neat about this is that we will put it on our website. And we have a section that we call Show What You Know. And the kids are able to see themselves. And what happens is that they want to look at themselves and they want their parents to look at themselves. And so they go on the website and they're reviewing their vocabulary just because they're watching themselves and showing off to other people. And it's a way of reviewing the vocabulary in an easy and engaging way.
In no way that them actually just reading the words and the definition will get that vocabulary in them. Print is a very hard vocabulary word, and when they do that, make a mark by pressing it, then they're actually pressing with their bodies. They really get the understanding of what that word means.
Now here's another video. We all know that we struggle with teaching reading comprehension, and we do all sorts of lessons on the strategies, on visualizing, on drawing conclusions, on all sorts of things. Sometimes we struggle with getting the sequence of things. Sometimes we get they get the specific questions with just information that they can find, but when it comes for drawing inferences, they don't get. And so we use a lot of drama for a lot of different reading comprehension strategies. And you're going to see one on a retelling.
Let's see. Sammy, you want...
It's coming. Soon.
We promise.
I need a lion. A ferocious lion. Let's see. Sammy, you want to be our lion? Okay. You're snoozing. Let's see. Sammy, you want to be our lion? Okay. You're snoozing. Snooze. Let us hear it. Oh, he's so happy in the sunshine. I need a little mouse. Cece, you want to be the little mouse?
All right. Well, let's not go with this video.
All right.
We're just
Look at it.
gonna
She's
we're
a little mouse.
gonna cut
What
this
does the
video
little
because it's
mouse
not
do?
running
Who
very
can tell
nicely
me?
for you. But we will explain to you. Again, it's a simple role playing and a retelling of a story. Where children just come out and volunteer and be pieces of it so that we can help them with the sequence of things. But there are other ways of using role playing during reading. You can
But
use it.
the important thing with that was the students were acting, but the other students who were not actually up acting were involved as well because they were the ones that were moving forward the action. They were the ones that were answering the questions and saying what was coming in next. So it's important to make sure that you're not just involving the few students who might be the ones involved in the actual drama, but that you're involving all the students as well in whatever way that you can.
All right. I think we have this drama, this little clip that will work. This one is where we use it in helping students plan their writing on an actual storyboard like an author would do. We try and get them to understand that writing a story involves a lot of organizing. Not just a little essay, but they actually write a book. And in order to do that, we want them to get the sequence. We want them to build in some action. We want them to build in some thinking and some feeling. And so all of that is placed on a storyboard square by square. If you take a look at, before we get it started, we have 4 squares across on little sheets of paper. We have somebody who's our sketcher, so you're not going to see the whole process here. What happens is we gather them all together, and we're going to write some kind of a scary story or a Halloween story or an action story, depending on what the children want to do. And they all offer some suggestions. We vote on one, and then the teachers become
We focus on the problem. We focus on what the problem is going to be in our story.
right, and that's the important thing. That so initially, when they get started at their own desk, they have to get their problem, and they sketch their problem, and then they do what happens before and what happens after, and then they can split it up into other squares that further embellish the story. But when we're downstairs and we have all 57 of them in the cafeteria, and we have all the teachers together, the teachers become the actors, and that engages the children because most of the time we get them to act out stories and so forth. So it's a pretty novel situation when the children are actually looking at you doing the acting. And
they're the ones directing the action. They're the ones that are saying how the story goes. They're the ones that are putting the teachers in the situations.
And so step by step, we're also building some comprehension, and we're building those pieces because a child will start, okay, my problem is that my baby brother fell off the crate, okay, and scraped his knee. And then we talk about, well, what happened before? Well, mom told him not to stand on the crate, and then he stood, he fell. What happened after? And put a Band-Aid. But there's no thinking, there's no feeling, there's no description, the story ends up being plain. And so they give you just the basic action, one action, next action, and my story's done. And so as we're acting, we're having them also integrate all those things that make a story engaging, that draw in the reader, that build suspense. And as Miss Wilder was saying, they're the ones that are calling the shots. Okay, if this is the 3 pieces of action, my story's done, it's kind of boring. And so you're going to see us acting a little silly.
And here's that part where teachers have to be able to do this. Teachers have to be able to let go for the students because otherwise the students will never let go.
And let's take a look at it now.
Or storyboard. Look at Miss Wilkins is drawing 4 young girls. She's not making really beautiful pictures. She just knows that in her beginning story, she's going to have 4 characters. There they are. And that's all you need in your storyboard. And then she's going to write trick or treat right there. All right, now we're going to go into the next square of our storyboard. Okay? Go in the back door. Shh, don't say anything. I think I can still hear her screaming. Can you? Yes, and I think she's in the back of the house. Let's just open the door. Ready? Help me, it's a heavy door. I started with 4 girls wanting to go trick-or-treating. They all got dressed and then they decided they wanted to try out the haunted house. This girl said, oh no. When they got there, they rang and the ghost scared them away. Then we got to the problem. And the problem was when we were going to Miss Thomas's house, the ghost grabbed the last girl, which was the one who didn't want to go to begin with. Then we get to the door and the last one says, hey, what happened to Miss Sibo? We go back trying to get her because we're hearing her scream and he scares us again. Try number 1. We go to the back door, get scared, it didn't work. We're not feeling very happy right now. We're feeling very disappointed. We tried the window with the ladder, and that didn't work. We're going to feel even more discouraged. Then one of us has to have the bright idea of running back home and getting a vacuum cleaner, because that was Andrew's idea.
Okay, I guess we're having a little trouble with that one, but you might have gotten the gist of how that happens. And within that story, you could tell on one of the squares it says Plan 1, Plan 2, Plan 3. And so we also invite them to try and get it to be more sophisticated, to have a trial and then plan it first. Plan it first, and then the trial, the actual action of that plan doesn't necessarily go like you planned. And then you try a second time, and you think about it, and you plan it out, and then you actually do the action. And when we freeze frame all of those for them, and the teachers will act it, and then we'll draw it, and we'll review, well, okay, does this flow? We can simply move those squares along and put something in between. When all of that happens in a theater form, freeze frame, and we're sketching it on the board, it opens up their eyes to, oh my goodness, this is what I have to do. And so that has worked well for our story building and our helping them write better.
And the students are able to see, well, if this didn't work out exactly how you planned, what was your thinking behind that then? What did you think when that didn't happen behind that? It's so much easier for the students to really get involved in their story when they first get involved in our story. And it truly is our story because the students direct the action, and sometimes whenever their plan comes up, we don't always make the plan flow out the way that they think it's going to, which makes them really start to be able to think of how some things could go wrong in their story. So it really enhances the storytelling that they have whenever they start to work on their own storyboard.
One of the things that we instituted this year was we wanted our students to be more engaged in reading and more independent in reading. And so we started a reading blog on our website. So that as they read a story, they could write about it, and other students could, make some comments similar to like a Facebook sort of thing or a real blog, actually. And we also, in our Show What You Know, have a book review section so that students, once they've finished a book or they want to do a reaction to a book or they want to advertise their book, produce a small little video that we put up on the website. And so here we go again, encouraging drama to integrate with reading. And so we'd like to show you one of our favorite little book reviews, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it too. Here it comes.
Hi, it's Aiden. What do we say?
And I read.
I went birthday party. First, they went in a bus to go to the cold shop. And then they went to the balloon store to buy balloons. And then they went to the bakery to buy some birthday cake. And then they went to the toy store to buy a car. And they had the party. They played games. Bye!
Now that is a little one excited about the story he read.
What we've done, not necessarily in the book reviews, but with some drama on books that they've read, we started we started telling the students exactly what their Common Core standards were going to be. And when we got to asking and answering questions, what we retooled the book retelling in that they had to write a question and answer it as part of their book review, so that it kind of really raised the bar a bit, because they had to sort of kind of tell the story, choose the right questions, and answer it so that other children would want to read the book. So that was an interesting way of incorporating many of the standards that we want them to learn.
And some of those standards that are sometimes difficult to assess.
All right, so if we get to in art integration, what we've found is that the quality of students' work in the art form is as critical as the quality of their work in other subjects. The teacher invests time to help students develop the knowledge and skills of art form so that they can use it authentically to demonstrate their understanding. And
as you saw with that book board review, he had to really think about what. Now there wasn't a lot of props that he had in that one, but still, for him to sit there and think about being in the screen, staying in the screen when he got so excited, that's the start. That's the kinds of things that we need our students to start thinking about.
And then utilizing the skills of art and music teachers in your school that can assist you in maximizing your students' learning. And what we encourage you to do is you're feeling not strong in an area, go
Reach out.
talk to your teacher. And then ask them to maybe do some things in their classroom that match what you need done. Imagine if you had them working on a particular project that part of it was happening in art class and the rest of it was happening in reading class or in math class or in social studies class. How you could maximize the integration of art in your lessons.
So the ABCs of arts integration is academic, basic, and comprehensive. And I think the biggest part of that is it does lead to a positive school environment. As Ms. Lawson was talking, you know, we're lucky here. Our arts integration teachers do us find out exactly what we're doing and where they can enhance that. Some of our projects involve the students acting out the different ways that molecules move whenever we're talking about states of matter. And this is what they're doing whenever they're in music class. So when they're in science class, we can refer to that. Or when they're in music class, they can refer to the science. And so it truly becomes a whole school thing that is happening for the students to increase their education and their learning.
What we didn't tell you about Bales Elementary, where we're teaching right now, is 50% of our population of children are special needs, and the other 50% are typical children. And so to differentiate, to meet all the needs of our students, art really is the way to go. It's the methodology that works best for lots of our children. And our special needs children excel. Many of them, because are poor in reading or writing or whatever, have part of their brain that's developed in an art area, and you'll find them doing elaborate drawings or being able to sing or being able, and why not maximize on that piece of their strength to raise their self-esteem and raise their academics at the same time. This is your favorite, Miss Wilder. I'm gonna let you do the next couple of slides
coming
because this is where she loves to be.
coming from the visual arts background, it's not only the basics of art, the basics of design and those principles of design, but it's also that critical awareness of art around you and being able to look at art and being able to appreciate the art. So I got to thinking about when we were putting this together of what are the pieces, just some visual art pieces that you can pull into a classroom, in any classroom. And I was thinking K through 5 on this. That's going to enhance your education or let you be able to jump into a topic through a work of art. So oftentimes in kindergarten or even pre-kindergarten, you're going to be teaching students about the seasons of the year. Claude Monet is a perfect artist who has drawn and painted the same kind of landscape through different seasons. So what a great way for the students to look at and really visually look at the artwork and look for the evidence of what the season of the year is, to really be able to define what makes the season and what it really looks to and feels like to us, at the same time that you're appreciating the art of a great artist. Are you Another one, weather. We talk a lot about weather across everything. Winslow Homer is another one who's done so much weather, lots of stormy weather that he has painted, and what a great jumping off point for students to really be able to put themselves in the place where he has painted and to really understand what's happening with the weather in those different places. Why not use your science, the parts of the plant? There's lots of artists who have drawn plants exactly like they look, or maybe not exactly like they look, but we still have all of those basic parts of the plant that we all have to study as part of our science standards. Here's another way to study it. Compare the artwork to an actual piece of plant right in front of you, and what's the artist seeing that the artist is trying to duplicate for us to visually see. Our engineering, we're working on engineering right now. Leonardo da Vinci, he's a great one who has thought a lot about different engineering before they were even thought of by anybody else. And those drawings, you can really study the way that he put different things together in order to create a new contraption that maybe wasn't going to be thought about for hundreds of years. Patterns are a great one. Gustav Klimt is a great artist that has developed his art with lots of different patterns that the students can find. And being able to visually discriminate what makes a pattern through his art and appreciate his art will help kids a lot. I hope Miss Lawson uses this year in her 3rd grade.
I use this one for fractions, but I also use it for arrays and multiplication. All the time I use it. If you can tell, it jumps up at you. Rows times columns, and also when you're trying to get equivalent fractions. Oh my God, that's a very, very strong, a difficult topic for them, and these are strong pictures to draw from.
And the students are able to look and see what makes Andy Warhol's art so interesting. You can sit there and you can do your arrays with boxes, or you can do it with circles, but why not do it with Marilyn Monroe or Coke bottles or Campbell's soup cans? Some different reading strategies, comparing and contrasting. We compare and contrast text all the time. We read this one, we read this one. What's the difference between them? How are they similar? How about two works of art that Vincent van Gogh has painted? These are two Starry Night paintings. What's similar about those? What are different about them? Just to be able to understand what compare and contrast means, this is a perfect jumping off point for the students before they have to dive into two different texts and be able to compare those. We could do character studies of lots of different portraits that artists have made. We can make inferences. What is this lady doing? What's she doing in there? Vivid verbs we use all the time whenever we're working with our writing. We want to always make our writing as engaging as possible. Keith Haring is a great one to show lots of different action in his. So how could you describe what these figures are doing using as many different verbs as you could come up with? Main idea and details. There's lots of details in some of these paintings. One of the great hooks that we use all the time, the kids love to use it, is onomatopoeia. And here's some perfect artworks that do those very same things, that really jump right into the action of this artwork, but why not jump right into the action of a story that you are writing as well? And we have a lot of themes. There's lots of themes that go through our reading that we read, and those themes we can connect to different pieces of artwork. Themes like conflict, like peace, honesty, courage. We can easily find pieces of artwork that let the students really get involved in that as well. You know, through the color and through the medium that the artists bring to this, the students can help bring that idea of the theme to the words that they read as well. You know, the arts integration allows us to build chefs who make choices, not cooks who merely follow the recipe. And I think as teachers, we need to do that as well. It's so easy just to follow exactly what somebody has put in a textbook for you to follow, or what somebody else has put together as a lesson plan. But that doesn't really benefit our students as well as what it could. We have to think of each and every student as a chef, and we have to make them be able to make the choices as well to enhance their education.
The end of this webinar has a lot of neat words. And they're words that you might want to use in just your vocabulary, or just words that kind of tingle your imagination and tell you what arts integration does for us in our classroom, and what it can do for you, for all of your children, your special needs children, your regular children, your children who might not be motivated to learn. You bring out a paintbrush, and all of a sudden the world changes. It's not, I'm struggling with my vocabulary, but I'm painting my vocabulary. And so all of these words, A through Z, have some wonderful, wonderful words. I think in A, I like the word accelerate. How about you? What do you like in B?
I'm drawn to those big, brave, bold words, because we want our students to be big and to be brave and to be bold. And I'm pretty sure that as teachers, we want to try to be that as well. So those words really draw me in. Create with the C, create a curriculum. Look at those words together.
Yes, yes. And now, this young girl here, she's got a rock that she created, isn't it? And so that's part of what we had them do. We actually had them build sedimentary rocks. And one of our severe and profound students, who could not tell us the words metamorphic, igneous, sedimentary, when it came to asking him, what's a sedimentary rock? That's exactly what he would do. Layer upon layer upon layer, and press it down. And so we knew that
sedimentary rock.
That's, yeah. And so I want to go with E, explore enthusiasm, and definitely a lot of effort for a CP child to get his hands to move that in that manner.
Fun should definitely be it.
Yeah.
Fun should definitely be it. This is we're creating the world here. We're creating the layers of the world and demonstrating how the world is put together, and then what each of those pieces of the world, from the inner core out to the crust, do, and how they work together. So the students are actually constructing their, and I think it's a genuine demonstration of what they know.
Genuine.
I did pick out genuine.
I was thinking authentic world, authentic assessment, genuine. Actually, it's the kind of learning that we want them to do. H, my goodness, what do I like in H? I like happen, because learning happens. Learning happens. It's surprising how learning happens. And I
like heart. Wait, H.
Oh,
H has to have heart. You teach with heart, you learn with heart. Intensity, inspiration.
Okay, go ahead. Take I from me.
Illuminate. This is there's joy. There's joy on that face.
You got it. You got it. And kinesthetic right there.
And kinesthetic.
Yep. L. Well, learn. But learn with laughter, and learn leaping out of your chair. And I love music. You know I do that. You know, as you could tell during the presentation, she's more the art person. I'm more the music and drama person.
I think the M from that one, though, is motivation. Through the arts, you can motivate a lot of students to get more involved in the lessons than you ever could by just sitting there and reading. and just standing up in front of the class. I mean, how many times do we say when we have some of our interns or we're mentoring some of our new teachers that we have, get the kids up and moving, get them up and moving, and that's what is motivational, and that's where the arts can play a really important part. I think, and this one has to be the novelty of this sensory experience that we're making right here, and then there was a lot of really great goo stories that came from this one. Where do you see goo? What does goo do? How does it move? And so we got a lot of stories from the garbage dumpsters to molding things. And this really let the kids jump off in their imaginations.
And so you just added lots of M words, and the M word I wanted to involve in there was messy, because your room is going to be messy, and if we go back to L, your room is going to be loud. That is active learning. Okay, so let's move on to N, nurture. O,
Off the beaten path.
Absolutely. Um, P, my goodness, perseverance. For some of our children, the perseverance and the stamina that they need to communicate, to keep learning, to just keep moving, perseverance. And Q? Let's take quiet right out of there.
There's no way. There's no way that quiet is ever going to happen. I just don't see it happening.
R.
I'm not sure relaxation's going to happen much either. Not in our classrooms. How about rich and realistic? This creates this.
Yes.
This is a rich, realistic learning for this first grade student. He learned so much about leopards to this day, and he's a fifth grader. He could tell us all about the leopards, whatever he learned in first grade.
Yes. And S, I think I would like to use spunk. Just because it's got a spunk to it. It's got a sparkle to the learning environment.
Trust is a really, really important thing that you have to have between your students and yourself, but also the teachers that you work with. At Bales, also, we work very closely with our team, and we have to be able to trust our team. Miss Lawson and I have worked together for quite a few years, and we say we finish each other's sentences all the time. There's a lot of trust that we have between us, and so that translates across our students, and it makes it a lot easier place to work and to be able to explore some new ideas with students.
It is a unique undertaking, because you have to start taking a look at your lesson plans and drawing yourself away from pencil and paper. It's just a thinking process on the teacher's part first, and a willingness to open yourself up to new understandings and new ways of teaching.
Which creates some unforgettable learning for students. I just had to throw that other U in there.
Thank you. And I wanted to add versatile to the V section.
Oh, yes, that would be good. Visualization. Vitality. Yeah. Vitality. If you don't have the energy.
Oh, gosh. Yes. Now, in the W, when you see wonder in a child's eyes, when they went, oh, that's what you mean. That's what happens with our integration.
Or when you see that, well, what if?
Yes,
that's the right one. What if?
Now, we get X and Y together. Extracurricular, exuberant, exceed your expectations. Yummy, because we do eat a lot, don't we?
We do.
Are you yearning to learn? Yearning to get involved?
Zest, zeal, and zip. Zest, zeal, and zip. Let's just take the Z.
All right. We'd like to thank you for having fun with us this afternoon. We encourage you to contact us at our email. We would be willing to brainstorm with you. We'd be willing to answer some of your questions. We'd be willing to invite you into our classrooms, because at a moment's notice, we will break into song, break into dance, or grab the paint and bring it out, or do almost anything.
On the table?
Oh, jump
on the table. We've been known to teach from the top of the table.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have been.
So, hopefully this gives you just a little glimpse of what our integration can be in your classroom, and go ahead and try it out. Thank you for coming this afternoon.